Greetings everyone and welcome to Citizens Corner. I am Jarvis. With me, of course, is the proud owner of an Orion and miner to the stars, Lightning Dragon. Alright, this week we got a few questions for you, or comments that came up in the channel. I want to go over them real quick and discuss our thoughts on them, as usual. Comment number 1 is from Reven. So long as a large portion of the game is now a mouse-based FPS, it sets the expectation that your ship should also be controlled without switching peripherals. Having to put away a joystick to grab my mouse after landing, or just to walk around a larger ship mid-flight would be incredibly jarring. Being able to hold my mouse without thinking about it throughout an entire play session is infinitely more immersive. Well, I don't know about immersive, maybe more convenient. But if they set things up right with a good virtual stick, there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to play the entire game with a mouse.
No one's trying to force other controls than anybody else. We all want the same control method. But I would still probably agree with this, that it is more immersive because your focus is completely on your screen at all times. You don't have to look away from the screen to be like, oh well, time to grab my joystick. Like when you're playing Elite, you can play the entire game with, you know, your joystick, HOTAS, whatever. But the difference is there's no first-person stuff in Elite, and I think that's kind of where you're running into the problem with Star Citizen.
Yeah, and in fact, I had the TWCS throttle and the T16000 combination, and they have a default setting for that in Elite Dangerous, and you can do everything without even touching the mouse or keyboard with all the button mappings on there. You can literally play the entire game, never touching the keyboard at all, because everything is mapped to all the various buttons on there. So I get what you're saying to some degree, but I really wouldn't say that the game is now a mouse-based FPS. I mean, to some degree it kind of is, because they have with interactive mode, which is kind of created a split between, you know, one set of rules for this group and one set of rules for this group. But if someone wants to have, you know, a full stick set and then grab a mouse, yeah, that's what they want to do. That's fine. That's what I do. I have no problems with it. You know, it's not that hard for me to basically move my stick just a little bit to use the full mouse pad. It's pretty straightforward. Mornbald says, comparing cockpits from present day 2000s to a game that's supposed to take place nearly 1,000 years in the future defies logic. I know no one can foresee the future, and we all like to see things that are familiar. But if this is the limit of our imagination, then I weep for the human race. Well, that goes to the aesthetic. Chris Roberts kind of always pitched this game as a throwback to the classic space games that you had in the 90s and things like that, like Wing Commander and X-Wing, and he described it as a World War II in space. So using the aesthetic to some degree as far as the cockpits and MFDs and all that, that falls in line with that vision that he had from the beginning. So this is like a fictional world. I mean, think of it like if you went back today and you watched the original Alien movies, looking at the fact that this is supposed to be way in the future, and you're looking at like 1970s computer technology,
cutting edge technology.
Yeah, but it still helps set the atmosphere for that movie. It's even when the new Alien game came out. They went back and they replicated all that technology and kept it the same, because it was about setting the mood or the atmosphere that original movie had set. So,
talking about Alien Isolation here, not the other one that we should not speak of.
I'm talking about Colonial Marines. This sucks.
No, I don't know what you're talking about. Never heard of that game in my life.
So yeah, with Alien Isolation, they took a lot of time to make sure the details are right. And so this is very similar. I mean, you look at like Star Wars and things like that. They have, well, you could say they actually have HUDs that are actually well below what our tech is today. But if you wanted to look at what they would have maybe in 1,000 years from now, you know,
it'd probably be a full dive VR, and you wouldn't have any heads up.
Yeah, you would probably be, you know,
like
your consciousness transmitted in some sort of drone that's way away, and you'd be flying it like, you know, like an avatar. And you would be subjected to G-forces or any of that. I mean, hey, you probably wouldn't be doing that at all. In fact, the computer would be doing it because it could do it way better than you could. You'd just be kind of sitting there and go, kill this thing. You'd be pointing at a screen.
Here's a picture for you, and this goes to my incredible love for the animation series Gundam. Imagine if you had a human-sized robot with, like, I don't know, a shield or a sword or a weapon of some kind. It's exactly the same as your body, mostly. I mean, arms, legs, head, and so imagine if you were basically just in space and you had a minimal heads-up display in the peripheral vision of your eyes. Like, you hold your hands up just where you can barely see them, and if there was an enemy in a certain direction, a little blip would light up and it'd go, oh, there's somebody over here. So you would turn your head in the full dive VR thing, and then it would like bring up information about what's attacking you, and that'd probably be the entire heads-up display. You wouldn't need anything else. And because we can't time travel 1,000 years into the future, we just kind of have to guess and pick a style. I mean, not us, obviously, but I mean, that's what Chris Roberts and, all the CIG people are doing. They're picking a style.
Yeah. It's like they wouldn't have manned turrets, 1,000 years from now. We wouldn't even have them today. So
I don't think we do have them today.
Right. It's all done with the computer. So it's one of those things. It's just the aesthetic. That's what it comes down to. All right. And of course, Dracolicious. I actually like that name. I really do. They should frankly allow an external view. Again, they already do this, but it's for cinematic reasons. Why not again just make it like GTA, War Thunder, and other games, etc., where you can fly with a HUD? The argument for immersion breaking isn't a good one, since you can go to external view, you just can't use it for anything except screenshots. Now, the reason I'm bringing this one up is the game expectations. Now, I've seen this push recently for the usable third-person combat. Frankly, with IM in the game, if they did that, they might as well just call this Freelancer 2. Because that's exactly what it would become. That's the only difference right now between Star Citizen and Freelancer, is the lack of third-person combat with usable interfaces.
Well, you know what? The Freelancer name might be copyrighted, so it'll have to be Lancer Free, the Space Marine.
How about no, there was a game called Star Lancer. Free Star Lancer. I don't know. Yeah, like
your name is terrible, and you should feel terrible.
Yeah, yours was better. Yeah, whatever. The point is that no, this isn't going to happen, and I think, frankly, that third-person views. Here's a problem I have with them. They give you situational awareness that you wouldn't have otherwise. So, like in games where you're doing, for example, in Arma, like someone could be like around the corner of a building and you don't know that. Oh, you switch to third-person view, swing your camera over. There's a dude waiting for me to ambush me, and you're ready for him. Completely destroys the ability for someone to get the drop on someone. So you're in the ship and you're flying through an area and you're not sure, but you think someone might be out here, and you're in a safe course. So you kick on your third-person view and you're looking around the outside of your ship, and oh, look, here comes a stealth ship flying in from behind. You would have never have noticed him. You would have picked him up, but there he is, and now his stealth is completely totally shot because of third-person view camera. Oh, well, you come across the argument, well, what if they're getting into combat, then you disable third-person view? Well, that's kind of a tell too, isn't it? I mean, some guy's coming in an attack run on you, you just keep it in third-person view, and oh, I lost third-person view, looks like I'm under attack. It becomes a situation where it becomes a notifier in that point. Third-person view needs to be like really, really reined in. I don't know how they're going to approach it, but I think it's going to be one of those things that's going to be exploited. Maybe if they do it in such a way that if a person doesn't show up on your sensors or on your radar, it doesn't draw them in at all. That's the only way I could see third-person view being allowable, in a sense. But no, they'll never do the third-person view combat, and if they do, I think the outcry on that would be larger and louder than anything you've ever heard so far. The game was supposed to be pitched as a first-person universe, and I think the expectation is being set by the control scheme from Freelancer being brought into the game, which doesn't work in a game that's a first-person game. At least not meshed with other devices such as first-order flight devices. So it's a mess. It's a mess. Expectations are all over the place because there's been no real clear message of what they're trying to do. There's been some updates and some revisions, obviously, of course, and all those things they put up, over the last week, talking about the changes coming, but overall, what a lot of what I read in there still wasn't clear about some of the most important parts of the intention of game design. So we'll just have to see, but no, I don't think it'll ever go that way. Alright guys, well that's about everything for this week's Citizens Corner. It's not really a long one, but I think this is about everything I wanted to address. And we will go ahead and catch you next time on the Blastcast.
Womp womp.